I've been here so many times in my life and looked at this amazing statue and never had any idea, one, that Nelson was somebody who, even when his contemporaries were arguing for the abolition of the slave trade, was using his military prowess, his influence, his kind of iconic role to vigorously defend plantation slavery. And secondly, I never noticed, having looked at the column, that if you just look around the back on one of the base reliefs, there's actually the figure of an African sailor, because there were black people putting their lives on the line for Britain and playing a huge role, contributing, often later to be betrayed by the British government, who left them destitute when their service was ended.
Having said that, you've written an article today which has led to huge response across the board, the likes of the former UKIP party leader Nigel Farage commenting that it's un-British. What do you make of the response to this?
I find it so interesting because I see Britain as a country that prides itself on intellectual integrity, on scholarship, on reason, on debate, and to me it's more something you'd expect from a kind of Soviet era or a dictatorship, the idea that there's only one view, that there's only one propaganda style version of history, and that anything that counters it should be immediately shut down. And that's what people like Nigel Farage are saying. They're saying we're not interested in anything other than the celebratory version of British history, than the patriotism, than the naval victories, and anything else we don't want to hear. To me, it's because I care about Britain. I am British. I want the full picture of our history to be known. I'm not telling people what to think. I want the facts to be on the table, to be accessible so that they can make up their own minds. At the moment, that's simply not the case. I'm not so interested in tearing down statues and memorials. And actually, when Britain went and did that all around the world in its empire, you know, looting and destroying ancient palaces, replacing traditional cultures with Christian English values, I'm equally critical of that. So for me, I don't think erasing monuments and perspectives of the past is the solution. What I would like is the full facts to be available. So I would like people, when they look up at Nelson's column, to look at it knowing that this was also a pro-slavery advocate, somebody who did his utmost to try and perpetuate the oppression of kidnapped Africans. I would like, when they look at Churchill, to know that this isn't just a man who won the Second World War for Britain, it's also someone who saw 3 million people die of famine in Bengal in completely avoidable actions that he took. So it's about context for me. I want us to be educated about our past so that we can look at it with the full facts. And I cannot understand why in 2017 the majority of people are just not educated about this. We go through school without learning any of these facts. It's as if we can't handle the truth. And I just find that a very difficult conclusion to draw about the country that I love.
That said, your article calls for Nelson's column to be torn down. What would you like to see in its place?
Instead of Nelson on Nelson's column, there are so many people you could put in his place. You could put one of the great independence leaders who helped bring about the end of the empire and the self-determination of people in Asia and Africa, people like Kwame Nkrumah, who studied here in London alongside other independence leaders and went back to change the course of history. Or you could have the African, you know, the unknown, unnamed, unremembered African whose unpaid labour built the very city that we're standing in, who created the modern financial system through having been sold as chattels instead of human beings, whose sugar production made this the leading empire in the globe. They're not remembered anywhere. They're simply invisible. So many British people don't know anything about that story. And I would really like to see it remembered, not because I want to replace Nelson with another version of the truth, just because I want the full picture to be there.